Hey there, YouTube. This is my review of Siren, the first two episodes. Since the first two episodes since when it premiered last night, it was a 2-hour premiere. Okay, now let's begin. Now, the episode begins in the Bering Strait. You see a fishing vessel. They're fishing for salmon, either sockeye salmon, coho, or Chinook salmon, aka king salmon. Now, they haul their catch of salmon in with the net, and all of a sudden, when they undo the net, there's something lingering there. And what it is, I do not know. We do not know. But it is moving and it is scared because it attacks, but it's also attacks because it's a predator, it looks like. And it attacks this crewman named Chris. And all of a sudden, Chris gets very badly injured, and then they trap the creature in the cargo hold. Now, with Chris bleeding pretty badly, the captain of the vessel calls the Marines or the Navy to come give Chris an air vac. Now, and then once the Marine arrives, they take Chris away, and then they shoot the mysterious creature with a tranquilizer gun. Okay, now, this is going to be more of a recap, and anyway, now we're in the town called Bristol Cove, Washington, and in Bristol Cove, Washington, there is a mermaid festival going on. Apparently, the main character's great-great-great-grandfather apparently fell in love with a mermaid back in the day, but there's more to the story. Now, and then the main character's name is Ben. And also, something interesting, Ben is a skeptic, so he does not believe in any of this stuff. Anything cryptozoology-ish or mythology. He doesn't believe in mythology or mythological creatures or cryptozoology creatures. Now, and he is not at the town festival because he is off saving like a sea lion, who apparently with the sea lion was more than 30 miles outside of its radius, and they know because it was tagged and they could track the tagging. Okay. Now, we meet, and we're at this bar called The Anchor, and then at this bar called The Anchor, we see the crew of the vessel from the opening. They're all worried about Chris, wondering where he could go, and then they're discussing the creature they caught, and like, oh, we have no idea what we caught, right? And then Xander looks at he's also Ben's friend, looks at a statue of a mermaid and says, oh, we saw this. And as I said earlier, Ben is a skeptic. He does not believe they saw a mermaid, a mythological creature. Even though if it was me in real life and I saw a mythological creature like a mermaid or a cryptozoology creature like Bigfoot, I would believe it. That is just a little something about me. Now, okay, let's continue on. Now we're at this beach party after this scene with the bar. Now with the bar, we come across at the beach party, Ben is talking to Xander once again, and then Xander says, what will it take you to believe what we saw is what we saw? And then Ben pretty much says, I have to see it with my own eyes. For a skeptic, that is pretty reasonable. Anyway, now we have a kid going swimming in the ocean or the river mouth on like a boogie board or whatever. And all of a sudden we see a shark head come out of the water. But before we see the shark head, we see some fins, not shark fins, mermaid fins. And what happened was the mermaid killed a mako shark, and the reason we know it's a mako shark is after the beach scene, and the shark head was on the beach, they took it to the marine hospital where they took the sea lion, and they decided, and then they're like, oh, see this? They pretty much ruled out every other possible creature that could have done it, and the only thing that's left is the mythological creature known as the mermaid. Now, all of a sudden, after the events of the marine hospital with the mako shark's head, Ben is on his way home soon, probably, and then all of a sudden this naked girl comes running out of the woods. Ben slams on the brakes. He's like, oh, and, he goes out and asks if the girl needs help, and she comes out and can't really speak. Ben gets out of the car and helps her. The girl calls the doctor and takes her to his house. Now, at the house, Ben is trying to communicate with the mysterious girl, who we will know her name in just a second as soon as I get down to it. Now, with the girl, he's trying to communicate with her, and then the girl starts singing. And, as a form of communication. And then all of a sudden, as soon as the doctor comes to rise, Ren runs away. Now you'll meet. This is for episode 1 and episode 2. In the town of Bristol Cove, you will meet a woman named Helen Hawkins. Now, Helen Hawkins is the mermaid mythological expert of what's actually going on. Okay, now here's where the strange girl gets her name. She comes across this boy watching this cartoon, and in the cartoon there's a little song going like, I am Ren, and something like that. That probably was a pretty bad impression, but that's how she picks the name Ren. And then all of a sudden she sees this guy working on a vehicle. She gets in the vehicle and pretty much asks to go, without speaking, to get a ride. But she doesn't really speak right now because Ren doesn't really know very much English right at this moment. Then all of a sudden, the guy, parks his car and tries to get sexual with Ren. And with Ren being a mythological creature, that's a stupid idea, because Ren kills him by breaking his neck and throwing him through the windshield. And this is from episode 2, but it's not important, so I'm just going to tell you his name right now. The guy's name is Donnie Price, and he is dead. Now, moving on. All of a sudden, we see Ren come to stop in front of Mrs. Hawkins' shop, and Ben is on his way, into town. And, since that day, and Ren tried to communicate with him by singing. Ren is the only thing he can really think about right now. And then all of a sudden, he stops his car and goes to try to talk to Ren, and then the lady says, oh, I didn't see anything. Typical. Right? Typical. I didn't see anything. But actually he did. He saw a mythological creature. And you know damn well what it is. And then all of a sudden, Ren shows up at the marine biologist station, and all of a sudden, she's going through the how they're taking the tour with the kids. Now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the sea lions start acting very crazy, very vicious towards people, and that is because they can sense a predator. And in the show, Siren is made out to believe that mermaids are predatory mythological creatures. Now anyway, the sea lions are getting very agitated because Ren is in the area. Now anyway, here is what Ben finds Ren at the marine biologist hospital, and he's like calling a doctor and convincing Ren that he is her friend. He's not going to hurt her at all, right? And then Ren kind of believes him, and then while he's on the phone talking to the doctors, about what to do with Ren. Ren like goes into the ocean, but she's like crawling, so it's like she's in pain, trying to get to the ocean, and it looks like her skin's drying up too. So she's going to the ocean, and then all of a sudden, after she goes into the ocean, Ren goes into the ocean. Ben goes to give her the medicine, and then he notices on the he hears the sea lions sounding very agitated, and then he notices on the underwater security camera that Ren is in the water, so he dives underneath the water to save Ren, thinking she is drowning. Now, when he goes underneath the water, he is not drowning. You find out that Ren is actually a mermaid and not having any self-awareness at the moment. Or actually, I don't know if she doesn't have if Ren doesn't have any self-awareness in her true form or not, but in her true form, she attacks Ben and injures him. Now, after she injures Ben, all of a sudden goes to Helen Hawkins' shop, and it was like, oh, you know exactly what I've been seeing. And he tells him about the mermaid and about Ren. And then he tells her about Ren, and then Helen lets off something interesting. She says to Ben that, oh, you should ask your father what the hell is going on if you really want to know, and she lets it out that Ben's great grandfather didn't fall in love with the mermaid, but he helped massacre a lot of their species. So that is kind of very interesting information right there. Anyway, then all of a sudden we see Ben go with his friend Xander on his boat. And all of a sudden, they see something on their sonar radar coming straight for them. And you can see something breaking the surface. And apparently it is Ren, but we don't see her in her mermaid form. But when she attacked, I do have to say the one thing though, but when she attacked Ben underneath the water when she was in her true form, she didn't look half bad, to tell you the truth. She looked alright to me. Now, anyway, Ben is on Xander's boat, and all of a sudden they see something breaking the surface after they saw it on their sonar, and it's probably Ren. And then all of a sudden they hear this weird. Then all of a sudden Xander's dad, or the captain of the ship, is getting ready to fire this harpoon bolt at Ren, and then Ben stops him from shooting Ren because she is all he can think about ever since she heard the singing. All he can think about is Ren. So that's all he can really think about at this current moment in time. And so he stops them, and then the people of the ship get mad, and then get mad at Ben because they want to kill Ren, and then Ben doesn't want Ren to die because if she's actually a mermaid, like people are saying, and what we know, he wants to save Ren. Okay, that is pretty much where episode 1 leaves off. Okay, now my thoughts on episode 1 were really fast, since this is kind of a review also and recap of both episodes. Episode 1 was a very good pilot episode, very, very good. Watching, episode twice in a span of one day. I like the show. I like the show Siren a lot. Now we're going to get on to a little bit of episode 2, and then I'm going to close out this recap and review the first 2 episodes of Siren. Okay, now episode 2 leaves off pretty much where the last episode left off, where Ben stops the captain from attacking the ship. Not attacking the ship, I'm stupid. Why did I just say that? At least I caught myself. Stops the captain from attacking Ren. And all of a sudden he hears this strange noise and he thinks Ren is in trouble. So he jumps under. So Ben decides to jump off the boat and go underneath the boat and searching for Ren. She just attacked you in a true form, so that might not have been the very best idea there, Ben, but anyway, with that, and all of a sudden, while Ben is searching for Ren underneath the boat, he sees this weird device on the back of the propeller of the ship. And what that device is, it is the device is like a lure for attracting mythological creatures like mermaids. And so Ben brings it aboard the ship and he's like, oh no, man, we need to study this. We can't activate it and call the cops, call the Marines. Like everyone's wanting to find Chris, but, Ben wants to find Chris also, but he also wants to protect Ren, the mermaid. He doesn't want her to die at the same time also. Now anyway, after he finds the device, you see Ren in her human form again, laying in the woods. And guess what? She's close to where we saw her the first time. And she's naked again, and she is walking through the forest, and she steals some clothes off of this lady's porch. And she stole clothes earlier in the episode. In episode 1, I forgot to mention that. Also from the same lady's house. And then all of a sudden the lady catches her in the act, and then all of a sudden Ren picks up this metal pipe and she throws the metal pipe at a railing of her house, and goes straight through the railing and gets stuck in the railing. And then she kind of freaks out, and then Ren disappears. And then we see Ren again very shortly. Ren enters Mrs. Hawkins' house, and then Mrs. Hawkins is letting Ren stay with her for the time being. And Mrs. Hawkins is trying to communicate with Ren. And you find out in episode 2, this episode I'm doing right now, that Ren is a mythological creature, a mermaid. You find that out for sure. You found that out for sure in episode 1, but, it gets more verified. What's also verified is that Ren has there's another mermaid, and that mermaid is Ren's sister. Ren's sister was the one that got captured in episode 1. Now, all of a sudden we're going back to Ben. Like, Ben is telling his girlfriend that, showing his girlfriend the security footage of Ren attacking him underneath the water. And he's like, oh yeah, I saw a mermaid. And then they saw the footage of the mermaid. And then all of a sudden Ben goes and talks to his dad. And 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 Ben's dad is obvious, and then you can tell from watching the episode twice that Ben's dad is lying. He just makes up some kind of crazy story like, oh, your great great grandfather had like a schizophrenia or something, and he was hallucinating the mermaids. He never actually saw anything. But if you believe Mrs. Hawkins, his great great grandfather helped kill some of the mermaids. So, whose story do you really believe? I tend to go with the person who has the mermaid, history, the mythological creature expert. That's just me. Now, here is what happens from here. The device Ben found on the boat earlier in episode 2. Xander takes it's at Xander's house. And then now where I'm at now, I forgot to mention that, but now where I'm at now, Ben breaks into Xander's house and takes the device back, thinking he could tinker with it. But mainly he wanted to show Mrs. Hawkins the sound on the device. And right now Ren is getting, accustomed to Mrs. Hawkins' place. And then Mrs. Hawkins is going to buy her some food, and she doesn't like any of the food of the house, so she goes and buys her crab, salmon, scallops, sardines, the whole seafood buffet for Ren. And then all of a sudden, Ben and his girlfriend show up at Mrs. Hawkins' shop. And obviously Mrs. Hawkins is lying because she says, oh yeah, she's long gone in the ocean. And apparently Ren is just upstairs, enjoying herself. And then all of a sudden, Ben turns to the device on. It's like, have you heard this sound before? And they said no. And then he says, they're like, she knows what the sound is, but she's, and then she says, turn it off, because Ren is hearing it. And then also what's interesting is Ren's sister is hearing it in like the military laboratory also. Now, they turn the device off after Ren comes running down the stairs, pretty much breaks the door off the hinges. And she is like saying, oh, sister, thinking like her sister's in the device, and it's not. It's actually a lure to attract mermaids, to attract the creatures, the mermaids. Anyway, now Ren, Ben is talking to Ben. He's like convinces her that she is that they are friends. And that Ben will help Ren find his sister. And Ren actually trusts Ben to help her. Now all of a sudden we go to the anchor because that's where Xander is, and Xander got called Ben saying, oh, someone stole the thing. And then and when Ben shows up to the bar, the anchor, he's like, no, the army didn't break in. I, took it. And then I forgot what the other guy's name is. Xander's friend. I forgot what his name is. But Xander's friend's like gets really mad at Ben and tries to attack Ben. Right? And then and tries to attack Ben. And then it's like, if you really want the device, I'll give you, we can get the device. I can go get it right now. And then Ben goes out to his car and convinces Ren to give him the device, and Ren reluctantly gives him the device, and she hands it over, and she's like, okay. And she agrees to let Xander kind of help and kind of help. Now, here's where it gets interesting, where we're towards the end. Now, towards the end, they take Ren back to Mrs. Hawkins' house or shop. And now now Ren finds, now towards the end, Ren finds the pages about her species getting killed by Ben's by Ben's great grandfather. I don't know. I don't think she knows Ben's relatives did it or not, but she walks out of the house with a knife and just walking down Main Street. And that is where episode 2 leaves off, with Ren walking down the street. Now my thoughts on episode 2. I thought episode 2 was just as good as the pilot episode. No joke, it was very good. Now, I can't wait to when next week comes, next Thursday, when episode 3 is out, I will be able to do my reviews, do my reviews a lot faster, and they won't take very long at all. This was my recap. And a little bit of review of episode 1 and 2. Now I probably didn't, say every single detail. I'm quite aware of that. And probably missed some stuff, but I'm sorry if I did. But I think I got enough for a good first video, and I will only improve going forward. Till later, this is Ghost Jake signing off. Until next week, take care and goodbye.